Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited to have with us today Michael Oshman. He's the founder of the Green Restaurant Association. Welcome to Green is Good, Michael Oshman.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, sure. And for our listeners that want to follow along for your great organization, before we get going here and start the Q&A, go to www.dyinggreen.com, dyinggreen.com. Michael, how did you come up with this concept, and why did you come up with this concept?
When I was 16, my best buddy in Los Angeles, who was already out there hiking, and we can't go in and have that food. I said, why? It's tacos and burritos. I'm hungry. That's what I want to eat today. He said, no, they have styrofoam in there. I said, so what? We can't eat there. It's not good for the environment. And I went and did what every consumer did at that time, which is said it didn't matter. They already have it purchased. And right there at that moment, he gave me about a 5-minute speech, if you will, of why it matters, why our choice matters, and how if a lot of people made that choice around this issue and various other issues, our economy would change for the better to be one that is supportive of clean air and clean water rather than the opposite. That started at 16. After a few years, I became dissatisfied with just my impact, and I figured out how do we create a systemic change where these businesses can actually have the support that they need in order to make the right choices. At the time, you were either pro-business or pro-environment. And I thought that's silly. Business and the environment should be one and the same. And so we went out and created an organization that would make it easier, not just easy, but easier to do the right thing. That if you were saving energy and water and reducing your waste, you would actually be getting employees and consumers that were happier, saving money, and getting better PR than what you were doing before. And that's what we created 23 years ago. That's what's happened. And we have some of the most impactful restaurateurs that are now certified green restaurants, to Rick Bayless, to Nobu, to the corporate headquarters of Chase, the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve, the New York Times, Microsoft, restaurants in 47 states and Canada. When consumers can go out to eat, they just go on their phone, go on the computer, have that same wonderful meal, but use less energy, less water. The garbage is being turned back into new things. The chemicals are non-toxic. The food is more sustainable.
Michael, you changed the world when you were a teenager. I mean,
well, isn't that what every teenager wants to do?
I think they do nowadays, so it's so great to have you on the show because you're going to inspire the whole next generation, which is the whole darn purpose of the show. So I'm so glad you said that when you were 16 and you founded this thing when you were 19, and I'm so thankful because I've seen your certification for years, never really got it. Now I get it, and now I want it all the time. Talk a little bit about that 19 years. The journey I'm sure has been fascinating, but talk a little bit about the environmental impact that you've literally effectuated in the restaurant industry.
Excellent. I'd be happy to do that. And I want to say, if you look at history, good things and also bad things like war, it's often the young people, the teenagers that are out fighting the good and not good fights. I was actually taught to believe in myself that actually what I was about to do could make a difference. And so I just encourage all of your listeners who have that great idea that they think is impossible, obviously make it grounded, make it rational, but if it's doable, go for it. We're here for a short period of time, and the world needs all of us.
That's so nice.
That's my soapbox there. In terms of the past 23 years, there was really a polarization, as I mentioned. You either, against business and pro-environment, or you were pro-business and against the environment. It's a generalization, but it's pretty accurate. And the conversation has very much shifted. We were one of the first green business organizations 2 decades ago. And we were on the shoulders of a great conservation movement from the century before that. But the conversation shifted from being against something to how to create solutions. And I think that's part of what our organization, big difference, to just be protesting against something and instead be creating a solution. There's boycotts. We created a word, 2 decades ago called a pro-cot. Don't just not go to places. Where are you actually supposed to go? That's a much more exciting and celebratory thing. Don't tell me all the restaurants I shouldn't go to. Tell me the ones where I can enjoy myself and do it at a lower environmental
Pro-cod. I love that. Pro-cod. That's great. I love
when
it.
Al Gore won the Nobel Peace Prize about 6 years ago, NBC Nightly News, wanted an old organization that had been doing this for a long time to be on the segment. And so they called me up, and I had the privilege of being about 20% of that story in NBC Nightly News that night. And the one quote they took from me was that we said that the conversation in business has gone from, should I really do this environmental stuff, to how should I do it? They're really just trying to figure out, well, okay, I know I should do it. I know my consumers and employees care. I've read a zillion stories. Yes, you finally convinced me it's good for business. I'm going to stay ahead of legislation. Now just show me how to do it in a way that doesn't hurt, that's going to be convenient, where I can trust some organization that's not trying to sell me the actual product, but is actually advising me. And so that's really the conversation we're in right now, is really just helping these large businesses and small businesses take their food service and make it more sustainable. People out there might think food service, that's not what's creating the problems. It's our electric plants, it's our cars, and that's true. That is absolutely true. But what most people don't know is that when you go out to eat, not only are you spending about half of your food budget dining out, but the food service industry, the restaurant industry, is about 1/8 to 1/10 of the American economy. If you take the total dollars in the restaurant industry in the United States, it is bigger than 98% of the gross domestic product of countries in the entire world. It would be like country number 8 or 9, the restaurant industry in the United States. It is a huge impact financially, environmentally. When people choose to dine at a certified green restaurant, they're making an incredible impact on the water and the energy.
What does it mean to be a certified green restaurant? And Michael, does it cost me a lot of money?
Okay. So what it means, first of all, is that it's not some airy-fairy, hey, I signed a pledge, I feel good now, and now consumers should come to me. It means that they've met some empirical standards that are on dinegreen.com, completely transparent: energy, water, waste, disposables, chemicals, food. They need to hit 100 points to become a 2-star certified green restaurant and meet 10 points in each of those categories. You don't have to understand what that means. It's on the website, but essentially they have to make steps across the board. We help them make it. They don't have to switch distributors. They don't have to make a bunch of switches. We actually come in and work with their vendors, their waste haulers, so that they can run a restaurant. We can come back to them a month later and say, okay, your distributor now carries that great napkin and package. When you meet with them on Monday, carry the 85% post-consumer waste napkin versus the one you did before, and buy these 3 chemicals. Here's the product number. So we make it very easy for them. And in restaurants, time is almost more of an expense than dollars. It can be, for an average restaurant, $50 a month, which for most restaurants is nothing, especially when you consider that it's very, very easy for us to save a restaurant $150 a month, $200 a month. So they're netting, $1,000, $2,000 at the end of the year after their costs. They're getting great media. 79% of employees say they'd rather work at a certified green restaurant, not throwing everything away, not putting toxic chemicals on their hands while they're cleaning.
Right.
And consumers, if given a chance of going to 3 pizza shops in New York or Chicago or wherever they're going to go out to eat lunch that day, if they find out that one of them is now a certified green restaurant, 79% will give preference to the restaurant that is a certified green restaurant, doing the right thing, and they can see everything the restaurant's doing on our website. They can see how many steps they've made. They can see the exact steps. So this is really, really transparent. So
there, it's www.dine, green, green.com. Dinegreen.com. Take it from 2 perspectives, Michael. A, take it from the restaurateur's perspective and how he interacts with your website, and then B, from the consumer's perspective and how he or she interacts with your website and finds more restaurants that are GRA certified.
Excellent. Easier question, consumers. They just go to dinegreen.com, DINEGREN.com.
I'm on it right now. It's a great website.
And they put their city, they put their cuisine. They could even put the level, if they want a 2 or 3 or 4 star. There's different levels of certification. They find their restaurant and they go out to eat, and that is it. It's simple. They can find it any of their phones, anywhere they go. There's also on AAA and City Search. We have a bunch of partners that list it. It's easy for the consumer. On the restaurant side, what we found it's not, I'm going to ask the listeners a question. Does anybody know that recycling is not the best thing? Does anybody know that getting a light bulb that's LED that uses 80% less energy is not a better thing? Most of us have heard these things 100 times, 1,000 times. And for those people that haven't done it, it's not because they haven't heard it or even been educated on it. It's called convenience. Make it easy for me. Somebody maybe even do it for me, and I'll be delighted to save the money and energy. Many people are so busy, it's difficult to make any change. Less on the consumer side, more on the restaurants. Here's all the composting companies, here's all the chemicals. They're going to look at it, and it's going to collect dust and eventually be recycled. What we do is we find out, where are you today as a restaurant? Oh, good, you're recycling already. Well, we're not going to waste your time telling you how to recycle. Right. Oh, but you're not using this package. We find out everything they're doing, everything they're not doing. We pour over their invoices and find the real record of what's going on. Then we work with their vendors. So that's the key. That is the key to this formula, is we're giving them those 10, 15 suggestions with product numbers that are already, by the time we give them the suggestions, available in the vendors that they already work with. That is why they're able to be successful, because at the time of action, 98% of the work's been done for them. All they have to do is push the button and tell the distributor, yes, these product numbers, the GRA emailed you, I want those. Recycler, everything the GRA just talked to you about last week, yep, I want you to pick those up and pick them up at whatever prices you had mentioned. So that is the secret formula, if you will. We do most of the work for the restaurateur so that they, A, don't have to spend the time, but even more importantly, they're not going to get, purposefully or restaurateur by the fact that we're delivering the suggestions for the solutions directly to the restaurant rather than a manufacturer or distributor who's selling it.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm on your website now, and it's just wonderful. I'm finding all my favorite restaurants, and thank gosh, they're all green. They're all green certified. So I'm loving it. So we got about a minute and a half left. We've talked about your history and all the great things you're doing, Michael. Where are you taking GRA in the future?
Well, we're in 47 states and Canada, and our main focus is just getting more restaurants. One of the things consumers can do besides dining at certified green restaurants is they can go onto our website and download and print and put in their wallet these suggestion cards, so that if they go to restaurants that are not certified green restaurants, it lets the owner know, I like your restaurant, but I'm one of many who would prefer that your restaurant becomes a certified green restaurant. So for consumers, dine at a certified green restaurant if there's one near you. And two, if there's not, tell your manager, tell the owner, and unless we all speak up, they don't know. But when we do, it doesn't take a lot. It takes a few consumers. The restaurants then call us, and they make fabulous changes, and it's something that you can feel proud of because you know that your restaurant did it because of your email or phone call. So that's one thing. Two, we are just, we've done some major expansion over the past few years. We're negotiating with our first stadium right now. I can't tell you the details yet, but we have the major corporations, we have the major chefs, and we are just taking this formula and making it bigger so that there can be many more restaurants doing this. Because the real shift to one of your earlier questions, to kind of bring this to a close, is environmental impact is the restaurants they're going to. They're reducing their waste 95% compared to before, and energy by 30, and water by 20, and that's wonderful. And if every restaurant...
Wonderful.
What most people don't think about is that when those 15 restaurants in that one community do it, not a lot, all of a sudden the distributors are getting requests to carry that better napkin, to carry that better chemical, and they need to. And then all of a sudden, they sell that chemical napkin to not just those 15 restaurants, but to 200 restaurants. So the ripple goes from the consumer to the restaurant to the distributor to the manufacturer, who then stops producing the negative products and starts producing more of the positive ones.
Perfect. Well, Michael Oshman, thank you so much. You're the pioneer of the green restaurant movement. You're continuing your mission to educate consumers and restaurateurs, affecting change one bite at a time, and you're truly living proof that green is good.